Hey folks, join us at the Radio Carrum Trivia Night on Friday the 1st of March at the Carrum Patterson Lake Sports Pavilion. Tickets are only $25 per person and includes entry into our door prize and a drink on arrival. Wonderful. Don't pass up this opportunity to win bragging rights for the rest of the year and win some fabulous prizes. Tickets are still available at Radio Carrum's website, radiocarrum.org. We'll see you there, folks.
I'm Ilana Razbash, and this is Radio Architecture.
Good evening from beautiful Bunurong country. Welcome back for another live broadcast of Radio Architecture with Ilana Razbash. It's a gorgeous night here in the Carrum on the ancestral land of the Bunurong people. And welcome to everyone joining us this evening on YouTube as well. We are got the live stream up and running, so we are live to you on Radio Carrum, online radio, and also on YouTube. It's a fabulous night. As always, if you'd like to join the conversation, please text us in the studio on 0493 213 831. I'll read your questions out on air, offer them straight to my conversation partner this evening, and hope to hear from you. My guest tonight is Michelle Hart, a freelance interior, photographic and property stylist based in Melbourne, who helps clients with transforming their spaces at home and into their own unique abodes. Her business, Basque Interiors, was founded over 12 years ago and has evolved over time as being a creative studio working and collaborating with brands and small design businesses in photographic and editorial styling, for homes, for sale, as well as interior decorating. Michelle curates beautiful, inspiring and considered spaces for everyday living that clients would surely love coming home to and share with their family and friends. Her background includes a degree in accounting, a Cert 4 in Feng Shui, along with short courses and workshops, all interior related. Her interest in the health and wellbeing industry has also led her to being a lifestyle contributor and writer for U-Time brand when it emerged as an Australian startup. Welcome to the program, Michelle.
Thank you, Ilana. Thanks for having me.
So good to have you in, and you're the first stylist on this program, which I'm really interested to unpack maybe some of the myths and misconceptions and maybe what people might not even know about styling and how important it is in helping architecture shine. So welcome.
Thank you.
And hello everyone who's also tuning in. Welcome and thanks for joining us tonight. The first question I like to ask all my guests, and this is a staple regular on the show, is what's your earliest memory of a building or place?
I'd have to say my earliest memory was when I was actually very, very young. It was actually my family home was the building, and it was because my father built our house, and I remember being a part of that and watching him like basically mixing up the cement, laying the bricks, and just building our house, and seeing that as a little girl and just being, sort of amazed at what he was doing. So
what a special memory.
Yeah, I know.
A number of people have mentioned the construction of their family home as
Yeah.
that first early memory. But I'm sensing a real particular warmth around the moment of your father laying in the bricks,
Yeah.
and really being on the tools himself.
Yeah. His background is in design and tool design.
A lost art.
Yeah, exactly. And he's German, so he's very precise and wanted to design our family home. So not only design it, but build it. So yeah, we lived in our family home for many, many years. And when my mum my parents had to sell, it was quite a sad time. You know, I think it was an emotional thing because there were so many memories in that home that my dad had built for everyone. And even when they'd sold the house, it still wasn't completely finished. So he was still working on it right up until the time it was going to be sold. Yeah.
Design is never done, right?
Yeah.
It's designed down to the last doorknob.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always evolving or changing or,
Especially when you have those skills and those tools. What colour was it? What colour were the bricks? What was the style like?
Well, it was very 70s. So we had we had cork floors and we had pipes in the foundation so that the heating was all done with water.
Hydronic heating.
Yeah.
Very European.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. So that was right sort of throughout the house except for, I think, in the bedrooms, so the main living areas. And it was such a beautiful sort of heat to have that underfoot. I remember the kitchen blind being really florally, like lots of bright yellow and orange and all the kitchen like right on trend back in the 70s.
Classic grandma's curtain, right?
Yeah, like brown, mission brown right through the kitchen. So, and then of course in the bathrooms there was Italian tiles and yeah.
Did you photo document it before they sold?
Yeah, well, I styled their house for help them, sell, style it for sale. So it was interesting, yeah.
And how did you find your way into design and styling?
Well, I'd have to say it was sort of an organic process of I married a builder. Or actually, when we married, he was a carpenter, so not yet fully licensed. And our first home, we spent renovating because it was basically not falling down. It was livable, but needed a lot of work. So all of our spare time was fixing up this house, renovating, and we bought like a decent parcel of land. So we ended up subdividing our block and then building another house in the back and selling that. So we actually started developing from an early age or early time in our marriage. And I think I just fell into, like my husband was building and renovating and he was like, right, you need to choose the colours and you need to, what materials would work here. And so it was kind of my role to do that. And then when we built or developed a new house in our backyard, that was my job to choose all those finishes, and I actually really enjoyed it. But I was working in something completely different at the time. And then when we went to sell like the houses, I was styling them. So that was my introduction into this world. And so it sort of started from there. But I think after having children and going back to work, I thought, you know what, I don't really love what I do anymore. So what can I do? What really sparks my interest? What do I want to learn? What new things do I want to try? So I ended up studying feng shui, and I was just fascinated at how, like, your home environment, the spaces we live in, the spaces we work in, just have a really direct effect on our health and our well-being. So that was really eye-opening for me.
Is that a key feature of your business? Is that something clients come to you for?
Well,
is it in demand?
It is in demand, but it's just more something that I've evolved with it over time, because after I finished doing that course, I didn't particularly want to be a feng shui consultant, although I did all the principles that I'd learnt about really made sense to me. What I found really interesting was how homes and spaces hold energy. So that to me was just very, very interesting, because you know when you walk into a space and you can feel something's
just not right.
It's not right.
You're not happy. You're not comfortable.
Yeah, there's just something not going on, and it's not, you know, it might not be the colour of the room or the, you know, it's or the furniture or whatever. It's just, it's the energy. So what's been going on in this space or whatever? So clearing energy out of homes, and also the feng shui principles of positioning, using the elements as well to kind of, you know, set up your home so that the chi can flow through and it's, you know, create harmony.
These are timely lessons ahead of the Chinese New Year coming up very soon.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, so I've taken some of what I've learned and applied it to my own work, and yeah, and I just feel like I've adopted that, because that to me, how your space feels when you live in it, how you live in your home, in your space, and how it makes you feel, is really important to setting it up the right way.
Do you find that you use more feng shui when you're working with clients to style their permanent home, their permanent residence,
Yeah.
versus when it's just for sale? That's a different headspace.
It's different. Yeah. So styling is sort of a misunderstood discipline, and there's just many different types of styling. So property styling homes for sale is different to say photographic styling or styling interior decorating for people who are living in their homes permanently. So I would say styling your home for sale is more about appealing to a lot of people. You would definitely be choosing your target market, whether that's a young family or an older couple, or, you know, someone who's downsizing or upsizing, and then you would set the home up in accordance to how you think they would live, and what would appeal to them.
Can you bust a myth for me?
Yeah, sure.
I heard that people with the style for sale deliberately make some sort of mistake so that prospective buyers start correcting it in their own heads and becoming emotionally attached when they're there for inspection. So something's not right or something's off, and then they'll walk around and say, oh, but I would put my TV there, or I would put my picture there.
Oh, well, I haven't actually heard of that.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't. But
So it's a rumour.
it is a rumour that
The jury's out.
Yeah, so I didn't know about that, but
And the no TV rule? Is that also, there's no televisions?
when you're styling a home for sale,
Yeah.
it really depends. I think that's one thing that's, as we're evolving and styling is becoming much more like, you know, once upon a time, what do property stylists do? Why do I need one? Now, any time you want to sell your house, you know, it's like a given. You just bring the stylist in, and so I think it really depends on the stylist and the company. But as we're evolving, a lot of the time now, TVs aren't essential. They're not seen as part of styling. You could just put a nice piece of art there instead and know, well, that's where the TV would go. But yeah, styling your home for sale is all about creating an emotional connection to a buyer, and it needs to appeal to a lot of people so that you're going to have interest but from a lot of people who obviously want to fight for buying a house. Yeah.
Whereas styling for photography, you're trying to show off the best bits of architecture. And we said this to each other in
The
sound check,
details,
that
yeah.
actually styling for, I guess, Instagram architecture that we can only interact with through photography or on social media, be it private or in remote destinations, or it's just the nature of the project. That's the only way it almost exists sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the only way some people can relate to it. And so without the stylist, without your work, that image that, for want of a better word, kind of makes or breaks it, or
Absolutely.
can really save the day or save the project, the portfolio, really show off. There's best moments can't exist.
Oh, yeah, no, I fully agree. Again, I think the discipline of styling has been misunderstood or not completely.
Say more. In what way do you think that misconception?
The misconception, because I think when you talk about an interior designer, an architect and an interior designer have a role in designing a building or a home, and then the stylist role for, well, especially for photography, is to come in sort of at the end and be part of a collaborative team. So you're working with a photographer, you're working with an architect, a designer, and your role is basically to create a story, be part, weave a story, create a mood, and it's about showing the detail of the actual building. So by placing objects, or you're sourcing the objects, so you're spending a lot of time doing things like sourcing props, you're sourcing furniture maybe, and you're organising the transportation of all those items to where you're styling, to the home or to the building. And then you're telling a story by placing everything so that the photographer can capture in the right light, that's their role, to highlight the best parts of the building or the space.
I've heard rumours before where the house has been handed over to the client.
Yeah.
The client's moved in,
Yeah.
and then they do a photo shoot day, send the client off to a winery, long lunch. The architect clears out the whole house with removalists, moves all the client's furniture out.
Yep.
The stylist comes in, redecorates the whole home,
Yep.
does the 8-hour photo shoot,
Yep.
reconfigures it.
Yep.
Client comes back
Yes.
at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, that has happened, and that does happen for sure. I think because maybe, again, when you're working with a group of people, it's a collaborative sort of project. There's always someone that's going to be like a creative director. So they've got an image in their head of how they want this to look when they actually capture it in an image or in a video. So often the occupants of the home, maybe their furniture doesn't work, maybe their art is not exactly how the designer or the architect envisages the space to be, to create that feeling or that emotion when they capture the image. So you're right. A lot of the times it's like, okay, we're paying you to go on this extravagant weekend away to this amazing winery and, this, wonderful restaurant, and you just have a great time, and we're just going to move all your furniture out and then, reassemble it all again after we finish the shoot.
It's certainly done with collaboration and permission, but a lot of architects, it's all teamwork, and the client knows that's also sometimes part of the deal, particularly with your client architect agreement.
Yeah.
Because the building is the architect's intellectual property, they have to be able to have the opportunity to document it and to photograph it.
That's right. Yeah.
But on the flip side, I've also seen these kind of quite wild and amazing, crazy images. Once I had to do a double take of the house as is, lived in, Sistema Tupperware containers on the bench in the kitchen photos, leaves as they've fallen in the garden. You're horrified, Michelle.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
It's a different aesthetic, I guess, and some would say it's maybe the true representation of that work.
Yeah.
And maybe at a lower budget or mid-budget projects, perhaps the work of the architect is sort of anchored in being able to show people the reality of living, what it is to actually dwell, not in a display home, not in a perfect image. But what does life look like in this house?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got to find the balance, I think. It's like, you don't want it to be like so minimal that it feels sterile and that nobody's actually living here.
But you don't believe the image.
Yeah, you don't believe it, but then you don't want it to be like, has someone forgotten to do the dishes, or take all the coats off, the sofa over there. Yeah, you just got to find the balance of, you want to create a warm feeling. So, you want to document the detail of the building or of the space, but you also want to, make it look really warm and inviting and really, really pretty.
I guess the clutter is not there for a sense of calm, or doesn't help that experience. Perhaps it's just a fad.
Yeah.
How have you found that social media has influenced your discipline?
Oh, wow. Social media, it's like just turned it up a notch, because there's just so much content now out there. It's almost like print media has really suffered, or it's not as viable anymore as what it used to be, as in the traction that it holds. You'd always want to get your magazine and have a look through it, but now it's like social media, because that's where everybody's hanging out, right? So everybody's always on their phone and they're always looking at. So yeah, creating beautiful images and content is just like, everyone's got a phone now, so everyone's got a camera. So yeah, capturing, any part of your home or anything you're doing, creating videos. It's really changed how people, are, I say, probably styling or, yeah.
Has it impacted your work personally? Have you found that you're observing what's happening more and then reacting to that, or?
Yeah, I feel like it sort of dictates where and what you're meant to be doing. So whereas I feel like at the start, when social media started, so say Instagram, which is the big one, a lot of creatives were on social media and on Instagram, and it was social media. So you were just connecting with like-minded creative people, and you were admiring what they were doing, and you were, sharing stories and making new friends online, because, you were interacting with like-minded people. And now it's turned more into, because big business has found, well, everybody's hanging out there, so
we can sell to them.
It's all about marketing now. So everything you see now is you're being marketed at, and it's just advertising. So it has changed, and I kind of at when it first started, I found it very inspiring. Excuse me, and being creative. It was but I feel now it's just a little bit too down the other path of everything's marketed at you, and so
people can be more concerned sometimes about the aesthetic than the experience.
Yeah.
How is that crossover between photo styling, which for all intents and purposes isn't real, right? It's an image. It's just smoke and mirrors.
It really is.
When that photo styling crosses over with working with a client who wants to live in the property, and it's for their dwelling, for their home, and they're coming to you with an image that is essentially fantasy, and that's affecting what they want. Have you had that collision of social media affecting the expectations of your clients?
Well, I find that it can be a lot of, we like this. It's more about like what's on trend at the moment. So I think that's where people get bamboozled, and they see so much of what's on trend at the moment, and then that sort of guides them, like, this is what everybody's doing, so, this is how I would like it to be.
For listeners that are looking to style their own home, what would you say to them? What questions should they be asking themselves, or what things should they keep in mind?
I would sort of say, when I meet with clients, I'm always asking them, like, how do you want, this space, this room to function? Like, how do you live? Like, if you're a family, the sofa, like, are you going to be lounging on it? Are you going to be sitting upright? Is it more for conversational purposes, or is it for watching TV? And
Do you have a shedding dog?
exactly. Like, how many kids do you have? Do you have a partner that drinks red wine and spills it all over the place? Do you have pets? And so the practicality of living in your home versus a beautiful Instagram photo where does anybody sit on that couch?
You don't live inside a picture.
And that's the difference too with styling for sale, because ideally you're styling homes that actually are empty, as in nobody's really living there, but some people do still stay in their home during their campaign. But it just means you're setting up a house to look pretty, but nobody really is living here. Like, they're not using the furniture, they're not. But when you're styling and doing interior decorating for people who are living in their homes, it's really important that the spaces that they live in are functioning well and they're practical for their purposes and for their families, and then they also need to look good, So it's just trying to get that balance. So asking people, what colours do they like? What colours are they drawn to? What style, do they know what style they are drawn to or they're attracted to? Maybe showing me images that they do like, and then sort of getting an idea of what their style is. But what's important, I think, for people is that their homes tell their story.
Absolutely.
And that they have things in their home that are reflective of their story and are meaningful to them, because that's what makes a house a home. And that's what evokes memories and feelings when you surround yourself with things in your home, objects or whatever, that have meaning to you. So
And to your story, coming back to that idea of feelings and energy and feng shui, you also want to create an atmosphere, right? You want to create a sense of happiness or of calm or of comfort, intimacy, or whatever the core feeling is that the client is going for.
Yeah.
So perhaps listeners should be asking themselves, well, what's actually going to make me happy?
Exactly.
What colour makes me happy? What
do I
want to see?
And you know what? Interiors actually does follow fashion. So if you think about, like, sometimes I'll ask a client, what colours do you like? Oh, I don't know. I really haven't thought about it. Oh,
Do you open up their wardrobe?
It's like, have a look at the clothes that you wear day in, day out, and that'll tell you what colours you like, right? Or I'll ask a client, what colour do you like? I like green. And then I'll look at them and they're wearing all green. It's like, of course you do, because you're dressed in green. So, yeah, interiors can sometimes follow fashion. And when people, haven't thought about it, all they have to do is look at their wardrobe and then realise that they're the colours that they're drawn to and would like to be surrounded by, because they're wearing them every day.
Have you heard of dopamine dressing?
No.
It's when people wear crazy bright colours, bright pops of pattern, in order to elicit a spike in dopamine that it makes them happy, so they're dressing extra happy.
Right, so it evokes that. Yeah, okay, I get it.
That feeling and emotion.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. It's like, like colours can evoke different feelings in people, and that's why.
It's a big trend across social media right now, that dopamine dressing style. But I wanted to ask, anything you're forecasting for the upcoming year as we move into the really busy time of 2024? It almost feels like January. Everything up until the long weekend at the end of January doesn't count, and then everyone gets back in Feb.
Yeah.
So
we're like right into like the year starting properly now, aren't we? I've noticed what's evolving in terms of colours is that there's more like bolder jewel tones out there at the moment. So like
like an emerald green.
I was just going to say, you read my mind.
ruby. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
like emerald green, magentas, and ruby.
You're
like
wearing
reds.
a beautiful Prussian blue, almost sapphire blue.
Yeah, that sort of bold, deep colour, teal, and so those bold colours are then sort of paired with more earthy tones and rusty colours. So you've got your earthy colours, but then you've got your punch of bold colour as well. And I'm finding now that people are moving into like the darker woods over the lighter coloured
Oh,
woods.
it's back. The dark timbers have come back
It's
around.
like fashion, right? It just kind of goes around and it'll come around again. So
Scandi blonde birch is out.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's out, but I think it was just in and saturated everywhere, and now we're moving into like more warmer tones.
What do you think about mixed timbers?
It's as long as it's not like a jarrah with an oak or something like really, different. But I think people really get hung up on like all the timbers have to match exactly. And they actually don't. Like, I think it's like your home tells your story. I think if it flows okay and it doesn't have to be matching exactly. It doesn't have to be the exact same timber everywhere. Your table doesn't have to be the same as the floor, as the same as the chair leg. And
heaven forbid, not from the same suite.
Oh.
Don't buy the dining table, the
we don't want
buffet, and the coffee
matchy.
table matchy.
Yeah, it's
don't
like-
do it, listeners. Don't do it.
like walking into a showroom and just putting the showroom furniture, everything displayed into your lounge room. And yeah, you don't want that either.
No.
Yeah, you want to mix things up and have some interest, because that's what when you look around a room, it's like your eye wants to take in all the details. So just scanning around. So you've got to have some interesting
Somewhere for your eye to jump to. And
yeah, and that could be through like different pieces, through shape, pattern, size. Yeah.
what have been some of the other key moments in the evolution of styling as a discipline over time?
What do you mean by that?
How has styling changed in your experience, or even in your work specifically? Because of course, styling's creative. Every stylist has their own way they like to do it. How has your work evolved, perhaps?
I think when I first sort of started to style, I thought, you just needed to do every little sort of surface had to have something on it, and now it's become much more restrained. So I think it's almost like less is more, and what you do use and place kind of needs to have more of an impact rather than, having a whole heap of little things together. It's like maybe one nice object or something placed. So it's more restrained, I think, or more refined.
How have you found that you've been able to express your personal or style, even though you're connecting with what the design directive is on that shoot day, for example, or through the process? Would you say you have a styling style? Pardon the double entendre.
Yeah, I think you do, because you kind of just fall back into, this is how I would make a bed. But it's also, with a stylist, it's really important to listen to the brief of the client. So even though I might want to go in and do things this way, I've got to sort of make sure that I'm not, I'm part of the story, but I'm not the whole story. So, listening to the client and seeing what they've designed, whether it's an interior designer or an architect, and working with them, coming up with something that's going to make everybody happy, so it ticks all the boxes. But usually, I guess some people will come and work with you because they like your style, your personal style. And then it's about, working in with them and what their style is too. So it's very collaborative, and it's a lot of give and take.
Listening and collaboration, right? It's the key ingredient to all good work.
It is, because everybody has a part in the project, and And at the end of the day, you just want your client to be happy and to do good work, right? So as long as you're hitting the brief and going in there with good energy, then it's all good.
What do you think makes a timeless choice or a timeless design selection, a timeless styling selection that versus just, throwaway Instagram trend?
Yeah. I think it's like quality, looking for quality, waiting for the right piece and not rushing into, just getting, like you said, just to throw away something that's going to, we'll have for a year and then get rid of it. But something that is timeless, that'll be good in 10 years or 20 years. And even with furniture, like even a sofa, like the design could be just really simple. But if it's well made, in 10 years after your kids have trashed it or the dog's trashed it, you can have it recovered, and it's brand new again. So that's timeless. Sticking to your own style and what you like too, that's not going to go out of, it's not a trend, but it's like, it's not going to go out of, you won't not or dislike it in, 10 years because it's got meaning to you.
Yeah, it's something that comes from deeper within.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then there's a line between, keeping things that can just clutter your space, but really taking note of some things that do have deeper meaning to you and that are special. It could be a piece of art, it could be an object, it could be something that was being handed down to you, that you've inherited or anything. So,
or it could just make you stupidly happy.
Yeah, or it could, bring back memories of a trip you took or anything. So yeah, something that makes you just really happy, like the dopamine effect again. So yeah,
Dopamine dressing, but for your house.
For your house, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why would some people might, as you say, there's a lot of misconceptions about styling, and some people might misunderstand the difference that the work of a stylist is versus what an interior designer does. Could you please maybe unpack that for us a bit?
Yeah, okay. So an interior designer is basically working for a client and to create the interiors of a home. So that could be, like the kitchen space and all the cabinetry, and like the bathrooms and just creating all the structural interiors of a home, selecting the materials, the flooring, the tiles, all that sort of thing. And working with trades or project managing trades and working with a builder to make all of that come to life for a client. So that's designing your space. But styling is, what I think is then adding sort of like the decoration, the pretty, you come in at the end and you pretty it all up with maybe furniture or decor or art. So yeah, that's definitely, I think, the difference. It's like,
and not all interior designers do styling, and not all stylists can help with your interior design.
Yeah, exactly. So some interior designers, and I know quite a few because I've worked with quite a few, they don't want to know about doing all that stuff, all the, finding the right sofa and the rug and the art and the lighting and, the lamps and stuff, and the bedding and all of that. They just want to do all the hard finishes and the rooms, how do they function? They've designed them so that they work well for the family and set them up so people can live in these homes really well. But the stylist is all about creating the layer of, all the layers of, comfort and feeling happy, and you want your space to support you and make you feel good when you live in it. So, we come in and do all the pretty things at the end.
It's interesting to be able to break it down and dissect the process further for our listeners into these components.
Yeah.
Because sometimes their experience or the role of an architect on a project will be absolutely everything, down to the fabric selection and the cushions and the lights and the doorknobs, absolutely everything. And we've worked on projects, we've done absolutely everything. But sometimes it is broken down, or the client may not need all of that. They might not only need a little bit of help in certain sections. So it sort of comes to this conversation that architecture is everything, and the process of architecture is actually a long one and ongoing, and even continues after you maybe no longer even working with the architect.
Yeah.
Say your budget only allowed until a point, and then some time passed and you decided to get a stylist on board, for example, that process is longer, and the life of the building is longer.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's right, because it's not so easy to change that, right? But when you're styling, those elements that you bring in can be changed a lot easier. So like if you want to change your curtains, or the colour of your cushions, or a new rug or something, like by changing those elements, then you've given your home a new feeling, or a new colour palette or something like that. But yeah, the structural element of a building, the architecture and the design of it is there for the long haul, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to circle back to a point you made at the beginning of our conversation, where you mentioned that styling was a role you almost fell into while your husband was a builder. Have you found that your experience in the profession, that there's a gendered element to it, that there's a lot of women who are styling, or that the perception is somehow that it's more of a woman's job?
Well, no, a lot of the top stylists are actually, in fact, men. So, yeah.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. It's, predominantly there are probably more women as stylists, but there are also quite a lot of men doing styling roles as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's really great to hear.
Yeah. And they do it really well too.
It's almost like a ancillary satellite discipline that works in collaboration with architecture and works in collaboration with architects, and that you're not identifying the problems that certainly my industry comes up against. And we see a lot of issues with gender equity, and we have amazing peak industry bodies like Parlour that are working to combat it and research it.
Yeah.
And really across architecture, across interior design, urban planning, we're trying to really deal with these big systemic and structural issues.
Yeah.
Of how women are perceived even as professionals. So it's a complete relief to hear that that orbit does end at some point, and that there is hope on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our allied disciplines are all being creative and really respecting each other.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The value of good design can really make or break your work, can't it, sometimes?
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of when you've come into a space and the architecture and interior design was just begging for your styling, that it was just a perfect moment?
Well, I can tell you this week, I'm going back to styling homes for sale now. This week, I actually styled a home for sale in Beaumaris, and it was for a woman who thought it was going to be her forever home. She, I am presuming, is in her maybe late 50s. She had designed the home with an architect for her for like until the day she basically was going to leave this earth. It was so clever. The design of her home was very, very clever, and you could see that she had really thought about, I'm going to be in here for the next 30 30, 40 years if I have a good long life. And every sort of detail had been thought about. Zoning off spaces, having a lap pool down the side of the house for exercising, all the lighting. It was just really, really clever. So that sort of sparked my, interest and what you were saying about good design. And then earlier this week too, I was speaking to another lady who was building a house in Point Lonsdale, and she's building a passive home, and sort of explained to me all the features of this house and how excited her architect was to have this home completed, because it's still in the process of being built. And I thought, wow, how clever! This is where we're heading. Really thinking about how we're living and what's, sustainable, what's, good for comfort, what looks good, but also works really well with all of our elements. So that to me is, thinking about good design before you even start, the whole process. It's just really, really thinking about how you want to live in this home, how you want it to function, and what you need it to do for you to live comfortably. So, yeah.
I'm still feeling warm and fuzzy after your anecdote of your story of the lady who thought it was going to be her forever home.
I know. So the story was why she's selling it is because her adult children, one lives in America and one is in Perth, and the daughter from America is coming across to Perth to live. So she's moving to Perth because her whole family's there. And yeah, she was like, well, they're all over there, so I thought I was going to be here until my last days. But anyway, I was like, oh, this house is on the market. Wow.
Stunning.
This is going to be a good buy for someone like that. She's really thought about everything. So
that's sweet. That's a very sweet story, a very special reason to part with a
Yeah.
beloved family home.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But also someone will be very lucky.
Oh, absolutely, because it's good design, and that's going to make people feel great when they live in a home that's well designed. Because I've also been in a lot of homes that are not well designed, and yeah.
And you're trying to remedy the situation, really, aren't you, with the styling?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. The rooms are not, proportioned right, or so then, yeah, that's when you have to do your magic and the smoke and mirrors of, setting things up but yeah, it goes back to that question you asked at the start where, yeah, you probably are right, where, yeah, stylists will set up something because the house isn't well designed, just to kind of make it appear that, oh, that's where the TV would go, when in fact it wouldn't really. Just because it's got to go on the market and it's, for sale, and you need to create that interest and the emotion attached to a home. So, yeah, good design, bad design.
Get the good design right first, get the good architecture right.
Well, you know what? So when I will work on a house that is well designed, it's such a joy. It just feels so much easier and better. You feel excited about going in and doing those smaller touches or the styling bits and pieces, because it is well designed, right? So it just seems easier. It seems to flow a lot easier.
I want to ask you, how do you personally define good design?
Good design to me is like a space that functions well, like it has everything you need placed in the right spot, and everything flows well. It's not
The experience of actually moving through that home or that place is natural. It's
Yeah,
intuitive.
natural. Yes, intuitive and natural. So it doesn't, like, I could probably say, more about bad design. It's like when you walk in somewhere and you go, why did they put that there? I don't understand why that room is there. Like,
That's
why?
so funny. People always know why when they don't like something, but it's
Yeah.
hard to say what they do
And
like.
and that's the same with my clients too. When I ask them a question, they're like, "Oh, I don't really know." And I go, "Well, tell me what you don't like. What do you like?" "Oh, I don't really know. What don't you like?" "Oh, well, I don't like this and I don't like that." Okay, so then
That's a start.
you can cross that off the list. But now I know what you might like. But it's the same, yeah. Like you'd walk in and you'd say, "That doesn't make sense. Why would they have put that there? Or why is that room? Why is the laundry at the front of the house? I don't get that." Just, things like that. So,
Hearing the washing machine go off when you come to ring the doorbell.
yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, good design to me is just, the natural flow, and it again goes back to energy. It feels good. It's an intuitive thing where you can't maybe sometimes always name it, but you can feel it. So, yeah.
You know when you found it, you know when you're in it.
Yeah, like natural light to me is important. That's part of good design. I like lots of natural light. It makes me feel good, So I think it's, also goes back to what's important to people. Also contributes to what is part of good design.
Important to not let the market or the smoke and mirrors of sales styling sway people away from what actually makes us human and what we need. Light, air, little bit of green.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So biophilic design, that's become a really big thing, I would say, over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years. Because now we are more living, more and more sort of condensed into cities where we're urbanised. And it's like bringing nature indoors or inside our homes, like making that part of our design. So I find that really important, especially if you're living in the city, just to be able to have your greenery around to make you feel like you're still with nature.
Oh, absolutely. And not considering that as separate to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
That we're part of the natural world, that we're
Yeah.
to find ways to be connected to the natural world.
Yeah.
And in healthcare architecture, we also talk about salutogenic principles and the idea of how that environment can connect you with nature and help you heal better and faster,
Yeah.
have all that recovery.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like in hospitals, I think patients who are placed near windows who have a beautiful view of trees or a garden or something seem to, feel better and get better quicker than those that don't, that are not in a room or can't see outside. So, yeah, it's really important.
That's a very good segue, I think, to one of my final questions, and that's what gives you hope?
I think where we're headed. So, sustainability, biophilic design, how people are realising that all of these things are important, making the connection between that, good design and how it does affect their overall health and well-being. So I'm all about well-being, and I always have tried to tie that back to home environments. So like your home, your environment, the space that you live in, the space that you work in has a direct effect on your health and well-being. So I think what gives me hope is that people are really waking up and starting to understand that, and, healthy homes, the building materials that we use, everything like that, people are sort of starting to understand that they're very important.
There's a growing awareness, and now a change in legislation with engineered stone bench tops being banned to protect the workers from silicosis.
Yes.
Which Some will argue it's not a matter for regulation, but we've just found that you have to regulate it, don't you, to actually protect workers and protect people's health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's becoming, people are becoming much more aware of these materials and choosing low VOC paint, choosing materials that don't off-gas.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Create a healthy home.
Healthy home. Yeah, healthy home, healthy occupants. So, yeah.
Any final tips for our listeners?
I don't know. I think styling, it's just have fun with it. Some people are just, sometimes I'll walk into their homes and they're like, oh, I'll put something somewhere and they're like, oh, it looks amazing. And then they'll be too scared to move it. That's, put that thing there and it stays there forever. It's like, no, you can switch your art around. You can switch your pieces around. It's like, I used to do that when I was a kid in my room. And, it's just, it brings new life and new energy to your space. So I think don't be scared to have fun with trying different things. And it's not about you have to go out and buy all this new stuff and, do all that. It's like just reshuffle what you have or put things out and take things away. And then, you might look around and go, wow, it feels like a new, refreshed space that I'm in. Yeah. So, yeah.
Or upcycle. See if you can grab something off Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, yeah. Like if you like a project, absolutely, upcycle, recycle, have fun, paint something, why not?
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
A good note and message for us to end on this evening. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Ilana.
Thanks for joining me for another evening of Radio Architecture with Ilana Razbash. This live show was broadcast and recorded in the Radio Karim studio on Bunurong Country. You can replay this show wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in and supporting community radio. Take care.
Hey folks, join us at the Radio Karim Trivia Night on Friday the 1st of March at the Karim Patterson Lake Sports Pavilion. Tickets are only $25 per person and includes entry into outdoor prize and a drink on arrival. Wonderful. Don't pass up this opportunity to win bragging rights for the rest of the year and win some fabulous prizes. Tickets are still available at Radio Karim's website, radiokarim.org. We'll see you there, folks.